This is the Horse Radio Network.
It's almost time for the best weekend all year, the Kentucky 3-day event. We're gearing up for the big show with not one but two competitors this week, and also Margs. Thanks for tuning in.
From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour.
I'm Justine Griffin.
I'm Jessica Payne.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 97 of Heels Down Happy Hour.
Hey.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
I can't believe we're at Kentucky week.
I know. Can you believe it?
So close. I know.
Gosh, and you guys are so busy. How many horses are you bringing?
We are bringing 5. That's a lot of horses, but it's a great problem to have, and we're super excited. But we're bringing 2 in the 5-star, Quantum Leap and Van Diver. And then Star Witness and Camarillo, a younger horse, is going to go in the 4S. And then we're very excited that this year they're bringing back the Split Rock Invitational 3-star for the show jumping, the CSI. So we're very honored that Quintessence got an invitational spot there. So we're super, super excited that he's going to go. His owner, Jane Dudinsky, has always wanted, it's kind of funny, she's always wanted an event horse to be at Kentucky. Like that's been her life goal, is to breed an event horse to go to Kentucky. And we've had probably 8 or 9 of her horses collectively between Doug and her, myself. And when Quincy was 4 coming 5, he's now 11. He came into the barn. He looked like he was going to be a top eventer. So Jane bought him. It was her first horse to buy, but she had always wanted like a Kynar baby, and he was Kynar. She fell in love with the breeding, fell in love with him. He went through preliminary, and he was super scopy and almost a little too careful when he jumped in water. So we switched him over to the jumpers, and he won the 6-year-olds, the 7-year-olds, and show jumping. And he just has blossomed into this pretty incredible show jumper. And this year she gets to watch her horse go on the other side in jumping. So she's super excited. She's going to get to come watch and see him go. And we're really, really excited about him because it's kind of making her dreams come true in a little bit of a different way.
That's so awesome.
It's super awesome. So we're really excited. It's going to be a very busy week for everybody involved, but we're really excited and kind of honored to have all of the really good horses going. So
this episode is brought to you by Purina. All right, guys. So the drink this week, since we're talking about Kentucky, is, I don't know about you, but I like one of the best margaritas I've had in my life is literally in Rolex Arena at the Kentucky Horse Park. It's just like a very, very fair styled margarita, but they're so good, and they're dangerously good. They're too sweet. So I thought our drink this week should be a margarita in honor of those delicious margaritas from Kentucky. So this recipe comes from New York Times Cooking, which I'm obsessed with. So their recipes never do me wrong. So this is a good margarita recipe. So the recipe calls for 2 ounces of Blanco tequila, a juice or 1 whole lime, a ½ ounce of triple sec, and salt for the rim, and a lime wedge for garnish. So basically you're going to fill a cocktail shaker with ice, add the tequila, the lime juice, and triple sec, shake, pour. You can pour right with the ice and into a highball or a footed glass, and you can salt your rim and garnish with the wedge, and voila, you have a margarita. All right, Jess, what do you have for news for us?
So I told you guys a little bit about the Kentucky list for what we're bringing, but I would love to kind of do a brief version of what the 5 long list is looking like, because there are some really big hitters coming, and it's going to be super excited. You guys can check out the full list on the 3dayevent.com page, but I am super excited to see some horses from this state. Sarah Bullimore is bringing a horse. There, Coleman, which is later in the episode, we'll talk about 3 of the horses he's bringing. Buck has a number of horses. I think he's going to pick between his 4 down to 3. There is Pippa Funnel coming with 2 horses, which is pretty awesome. I'm actually really excited to see her ride hers. She has some
Me
pretty
too.
incredible horses. I'm really excited to see them. Like her horses are pretty awesome. Michael Young is bringing Chipmunk, which is going to be another big heavy hitter. Boyd has his 2 Tester Leg and On Cue. Bobby Meyerhoff's bringing 2 horses. Lauren Nicholson's bringing 2 horses. Joseph Murray from Ireland's coming over here. I just mentioned how Doug had his 2 horses. One of my very good friends, Jessie Phoenix, has got 2 of her horses going. Janelle Price on another one of hers, McLaren. She's not bringing the mare. She's bringing the McLaren horse. So I think that one's going to really be in the mix. And it's just a really big list of heavy hitters that are going to come and bring a lot of horses. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. You've got some newer horses, greener riders, but then some of, the best in the world coming over.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. And I love that they've now mixed in the 4 short as well as the 5 star. So you kind of get to see even younger horses coming on, seeing, not the exact track, but they kind of get to run through the beautiful hills and run that iconic, you used to have to wait till it was a 5 star. And it's pretty awesome that now you get to bring some of the younger horses at the 4 star and bring them over and just do a short format and, preparation for the long later on.
So Ellie, what do you got?
So I have an interesting study, actually, that I kind of always thought was an old wives' tale, kind of like, if your horse has got 3 white socks, you shouldn't buy it kind of thing. But so the study was actually done in Brazil. And this is the first time in any species that they were able to find like a genetic link between like the whorls, like those little like some people call them like fairy prints or something, like the weird little swirls on either like the heads or the necks of horses. So this is the first time in any species they found this genetic link. And then these people in Brazil looked at like 340 some odd quarter horses, and they like genomed them, which I think for my purposes is going to be a verb today. And they found that there's a certain region of the like DNA sequence that is responsible for neurologic behavior as well as like follicle regrowth and repair. So basically what we've thought all along is true. So they said like they compared it to previous studies that have found like if a horse has a whorl above the eye line on its head, those horses are usually harder to handle than horses that have a whorl either in their eye line or below. Those are seen as like more manageable. But they found these genetic windows and explained up to 80% of the differences of all the horses they looked at with where their whorls were placed. And what they found, and I'm not going to say like the specific type of portion of the gene, you guys can look in the article, but they found that in comparison with humans, that same genetic link was found to where they could find chronic schizophrenia in people. So they haven't like proved anything with that yet, but they are trying to see kind of where to go with this study from here. So they're going to look at kind of like where whorls placements in terms of like performance horses and like who's more competitive and things like that. But it just kind of is another stepping stone that kind of proves that maybe these whorls actually do have something to do with behavior.
That's pretty incredible. Like,
I know. I love this.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a Justine article. Actually, like this is right up her realm, but I really want to go like learn more about those individual horses and like what they saw. So we'll definitely post a link in the notes because I think this is something a lot of people are going to be interested to see what exactly they had research wise. So that's a pretty good one.
Interesting to see where they go from here too. I'm like, I got to go out and check all my horses. I'm pretty sure all of them have whorls above their eye lines.
That's why I'm a little scared. I'm like, maybe I don't want to go look at mine. Maybe I don't want to know. So Justine, what do you have?
So shifting gears a little bit, we're getting closer to indoor season and the Washington International Horse Show is coming back. But after 2 years of being held outdoors at Tryon in North Carolina, they are going back to an indoor, but not the arena that they've always been in. So this fall, they're going to They're going to move into a different arena. They're going to the Show Palace Arena at the Prince George's Equestrian Center in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. So it won't be like right in the heart of DC like it's always been, but it will be returning to a one-ring show format, which is more normal for them. And it will run Tuesday through Sunday, beginning October 24th and running through the 30th later this year. So it's exciting that it's getting closer to normal, right? The pandemic really shifted things for them, and that's why they moved to an outdoor format the last couple of years. But for anybody who, is chasing points and is excited for the indoor season, Washington International is gearing up for a great horse show. I've always enjoyed watching this horse show. It's like one of the bucket list ones for me. I want to go and watch as a spectator one day, hopefully when they're back in DC.
Shout out to everyone who's donated to us on Patreon. We really appreciate everyone who's helped contribute and keep this podcast alive and well. We love sharing fun stories with you and bringing you guys awesome guests. If you're interested in donating, go to patreon.com/heelsdown, and that's patreon.com.
All right, guys. So for our product review this episode, we are reviewing the EcoGold Performance Ear Bonnet. This is a brand new product from EcoGold. Obviously, you know by now that we love their saddle pads. From the half pads to the cross-country pads to the hunter pads to the jumper pads, EcoGold makes wonderful performance fabrics, and they've figured out how to use those high-tech fabrics to create a really one-of-a-kind ear bonnet. So, Jess, you've tried these out too, right?
They're awesome. So we have all different types of bonnets. We do love that most of the time we use the soundproof, because in a dressage and stuff like that, you can't actually use earplugs. And a lot of times there's music playing and a lot of environment, and a lot of the younger horses and everything, we do use the soundproof. And it's pretty awesome. The EcoGold Performance Ear Bonnets actually have the soundproof. And what I really like about them is a lot of the kind of knit ones that we've tried in the past, they kind of almost raise over the brow band. And so then they fall off almost, and they don't really stay put. And these are quite wider behind the crown piece as well as in front, that they make a really good shape and fit around the head very well, that it actually lays in place and doesn't move. And it's that same material we like that the EcoGold pads have, but then it now like sits down on their face. So it like doesn't move, and that the knit kind of was moving a lot, especially if you added the soundproof to it. And it really just gives a classic look on the horse's face. So we have the all black one, and we love them. So we show them. They will be with us at the Fork next week when we're competing. And so we really, really have found them to be some of the best show bonnets.
Yeah, they're super comfortable. There's like an ergonomic feel to them that I think makes them more comfortable for the horses to wear. I got one to match my cross-country outfit. So I use a hunter green cross-country pad from EcoGold. And
nice.
So the ear bonnet, it comes in 10 different colors, and green happened to be one of them. And so I find it to be really sharp. So the bonnet is actually black, but then the tip that goes kind of down their face has a nice green accent on the front that I think look really sharp. So the last horse show I did was a horse trial at the Florida Horse Park, and I tend to show in a hunter green show coat. So, and I use a black pad, dressage pad. And I just thought with my coat and my black pad, the bonnet just looks so nice. And then it works so well shifting to jumping phases where I have a green breastplate, and with the green cross-country pad, I got compliments on it actually. And what's really cute about this ear bonnet is Patricia and the team at EcoGold wanted the ear bonnet to stand for something. And so the message really is you and your horse are golden today and every day. And so the back of the bonnet's ears, just the very tippy tops of the ears are dipped in gold. So you can see the gold little panels only when you're in the saddle. You can't see them from the ground because they're only visible on the back of the ears. And actually, I wore a GoPro at that horse show, so you could see the gold ears, Mikey's gold tipped ears, like while we're running cross country. And it's just a really nice positive reminder on top of, this performance veil just does its job, and that it's comfortable and it's noise reducing and it's functional for any ring. It's a really beautiful bonnet. I've I definitely have never owned a nicer bonnet, I would say. So if you're in the market and you want to match your tack, EcoGold can do that. It can, there's a variety of colors. It's comfortable for the horse to wear. There's a lot of airflow to it. I like that there's great ventilation. Plus, it's easy to wash at home. It's easy to care for. And you could check that out for yourself by going to ecogold.ca.
At Purina Animal Nutrition, we are focused on helping horses live their best life. For wholesome nutrition that performs, try Purina Omaline horse feed. Formulated with Outlast supplement to support gastric health and proper pH, it helps your horse performing with confidence. Put our research to the test. Stop by your local Purina retailer or visit purinamills.com to learn more.
All right, guys, I'm really excited to introduce our guest this week. It's Kyle Carter. He's not a new name to the podcast, but we're really excited to welcome him back. Kyle is a 5-star event rider who's represented Canada at the Pan American Games, the World Equestrian Games, and the Olympics. He runs Carter Eventing out of Citra, Florida with his wife, Jennifer. Hey, Kyle, how's it going?
Hey, it's great. How are you guys doing?
We're really, really excited to have you back on the show, and I have a million questions for you about Ride IQ. But first, let's talk about Kentucky. You're headed to Kentucky this year, and you're going to be on a horse. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about Ready or Not, your mare that you're taking in the 4-star, right?
Yeah, she was at the 4-star last year, and I'm taking her again there to try to contest a little better performance.
Well, I love her. She's one of my personal favorites to watch. And I know you have a special story. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about her.
Yeah, I love her too. I mean, there's no, I really enjoy riding her and having her around. And it's, the thing with mares is when they become your partners, there's a little bit higher level of it than with a gelding. And she came to me was going prelim successfully, had tried an intermediate and wasn't great at it. And the owner, who was also her breeder and has bred a bunch of horses and was very heavily involved in the Trakehner Association, she just felt like the match wasn't quite right where she was. So she brought her down here for me to try, got on pretty well with her when she first came in. But I did say to Christy Edwards was her name. I was like, I don't think she doesn't go the way that I want her to go yet, but I think when she goes the way I want to ride, she's actually going to be a lot happier. And that happened pretty quickly. And she kind of went off, and we did really well in the first little bit in prelims, really well in the 2-star level, and then bumped her up to intermediate. And she was quite successful right off. She really likes to be rewarded and not told what to do, but like to have the partnership of someone is in it with her. And so Christy had her with me. She came in with a little foot injury that I kept trying to work through the spring, and we decided to give her some time off. So we gave her about 8 months down and brought her back trying for the Pan Ams that next year, and ran her in some intermediates and 2-star and did a 3-star with her. And I always said to them, because of her previous injury, that I wasn't ever going to run her fast until there was a time that it mattered, or like on the day that like a big trial. And so she always showed up and gets like a big ribbon or is sort of 8th or 9th, because I end up with time penalties. And then after the Pan Am trials, we missed the cut, but Christy and I and her daughter were at an event. And my whole barn, and Christy was she's a wonderful person. And I had a horse cut its face, and she was also a doctor, and she went into town to grab me some supplies for the horse. It just got a little cut on his nose. And on the way back to the show, she had a car accident. And Chrissy was she was the most positive person. She was a little bit like my dad. If you said you wanted to do something, all she could think of, how do we manage to accomplish that? She was never like, well, you can't do that. They just had that ability to kind of see how you might find pathways to success. And so I say that because she was an incredible person, but she was a terrible driver. And unfortunately, she went off the road and hit a tree up by Poplar Place, and unfortunately didn't make it. So it was a real struggle putting everything together. Her husband, who wasn't horsey, really wanted to keep Ready going for the mare's name is Ready or Not, and she wanted to keep her going for the memory of Christy, because Christy had been really involved in breeding. But the day that Ready was born, Christy was like, this is the one. This is the horse we keep. This is the one that's going to be the flagship of our breeding program. And Christy'd already produced several advanced horses. She had one end up at Kentucky already, but she just felt really strongly about Ready. And Ward, her husband, really wanted to see that happen. So we got a couple of supporters together. We need to probably have a few more in there. And she doesn't run that often because we do have very limited funds to keep her going. But we're very respectful of running her in with sort of the best interest of the horse at heart, but also with the memory of Christy, which means that she will sometimes, like we'll run her. Last year she did 2 4-star longs, and this year so far she's only done 2 intermediates, and then she's going to Kentucky to the 4 short. And I don't know that we'll do a 4 long again this year because I really need her to be there for as long as possible. For me, for my well-being mentally, I need her to, be have as long a career as possible. And for Christy's memory, it's a pretty big burden. When I brought her back and ran her after Christy's death, I ran her at Red Hills for a big event. And I came off the course and it was just like Ward, her husband, came up to me and like, we're both in tears. It's awful. And it's also really wonderful because her memory's alive here, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's been I've had her for about 4 years now, I think, and she's gone advanced for 3 of them. And I'm pretty conscious of, she goes advanced, she goes back to intermediate, and she's had some good successes. She won last weekend. She was 3rd at the one before this, and that last weekend was at Stableview. And I'd love to get a big win for her, and maybe it's coming. I don't know, but I try really hard to keep the horse's longevity in mind and her happiness in mind, and she is really happy. And it's good, it's kind of funny. Like someone said to me at the last show, they're like, I'd like to mic you up when you're riding her, because the whole way around, most events, the whole way I'm talking to her and telling her how great she is. And there's a picture of me coming out of the water, going to a corner, and at the top of the corner, she's jumping. She's a beautiful jumper, and my mouth's wide open. And someone was there that took the photo, and they're like, well, that's because you started telling her how good she was before she even left the ground. But you can just feel underneath you her sort of come alive. And when she comes alive, it's a wonderful, it's just a wonderful feeling. So,
gosh, Kyle, you're giving me goosebumps.
Yeah, I'm a bit like a 12-year-old girl out there. I always say to people, I'd be so much faster if I just stopped talking to her and started riding her. But I can't. Most of the time, I can't stop myself. So.
Oh, well, we're going to be rooting for you in Kentucky. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And to shift a little bit, I know you're running the 4-star, but in past years we've had you on as sort of for our preview Kentucky episode where we've kind of really analyzed what's going to be coming out of the 5-star. So I'm curious, what do you expect to see out of the 5-star track this year?
Well, so I'm writing the Chronicle preview again this year. I took it over from Jimmy last year, and Jimmy Wofford, and it's been really cool because it forces me to sit down and actually go through people's, you have an impression of what people are doing and how they're doing. But now I actually am sitting down and I go through all their stats for, the competitions leading up to it. Last year, if I've seen them for Maryland or Kentucky, it's a little different, but we watch all the footage that we can of the horses going. And it's an incredibly eye-opening experience because you think, wow, they're at the 5-star. They just must have everything together. And then you start going through the stats on some of them. You're like, oh my God, like I can't believe that seems like a good idea. And then you see other ones and you're just like, you can just see the success is about to happen for them. So I'm really excited to be doing that project because it makes me far more aware of the sport and how it's going. And so I think we're going to see a couple things. One, it's a world championship year. So typically those years are pretty stout at Kentucky. If they're ever, I don't know if it's ever easy. I think the dressage, the horses so far that I've reviewed, I got halfway through my list so far. And there's some exceptional horses coming this year from Europe. There's some very, very, very good horses from America. But I think the Americans are going to be really pushed this year to be able to take another 5-star win. And last year, I thought that there was potentially a 5-star winner in that group. And then I thought the same thing for Maryland. And obviously, Boyd won that. And I think this year they could push. Sarah Bullimore is bringing a horse over. It's doing its first 5-star, which always sounds like, oh, it's only doing its first 5-star, so it's probably not going to, be a winner. But it's in the low 20s consistently on the flat. It was listed for Tokyo for Britain, and it's out of Sarah's, one of her old 5-star mares. So there's a lot of history, and I believe in partnerships, and I believe in breeding. And so I've got to think that if the Brits put it as an alternate, first of all, it has to be pretty solid. It did go to the European Championships, and I think it won a medal there. Its dressage is exceptional, but alongside that, it has very few penalties on cross-country time-wise, and I can't remember seeing a penalty on its record, jump penalty. I'd have to relook at that, but it looks like it's coming into its first 5-star ready to win. And then in show jumping, it's been exceptional. And on that, one thing that people kind of forget with the Europeans coming over here is, first of all, they always nobody's putting a crappy horse on the plane. They're not looking for experience here. They're already getting experience. So they're bringing great horses. But the other thing is a lot of those British horses are jumping in mud and show jumping. So the jumps, by the time the horse that's leading gets in the ring, the jumps might be 3 to 6 inches bigger because they're sinking in mud and the footing's not that good. And then they come and they jump in Kentucky, and rarely does a horse jump on that footing from mud and go downhill. So they have a bit of an edge because if they're jumping well in the mud over there, they typically get under the ring and get into the ring at Kentucky, and they just jump that much better. So I think she's got the inside track for the win. Obviously, Michael Young's bringing Chipmunk, which I think is the best horse in the world, and obviously with the best rider. But I'm still going to bank on the partnership of Sarah Bullimore, because I always think that should create a better edge. Maybe it's just a bit me being naive or just something like that. But Chipmunk obviously was developed by another rider. Obviously, Michael's done exceptionally well with it, as you'd expect. But I just like to think when the chips are down, the fact that it's a mare with someone that's known it his whole life, that Sarah's horse is going to actually just do that. Just that edge more. And that's what I'd like to see. And I would have pulled for Chipmunk all day long until I started going through all the stats and everything. So that's what I think. I think that obviously, in America right now, I do believe that Boyd is in a real good place. He's very healthy. He's got a very good regime or plan to get himself ready for the event. And I thought Thomas had a good shot at it last year. Obviously on cues coming off of a win, but my feeling is that Thomas he had that one blip last year, and that obviously cost a very competitive placing. I think he probably is our best. I say I'm Canadian, but I'd say he's probably North America's best shot. And then there's a few stacked in there right behind them that could jump their way into a competitive place. But, there's just the horses that are coming over. Like when you look at what Pippa Funnel's bringing over, and those are incredible horses. And yet, when you look at their numbers, they're just a little behind where Sarah's horse and Michael Young's horse would be. So it's going to be interesting because you've just got such a strong group from Europe, and I think the Europeans recognize the value of coming to Kentucky. I think that they come over here, and obviously we know they have incredible events over there, but I think when they come over here, there just can be a little bit more pointed for the success because there's no distractions for them here. Whereas I do believe the American riders come to Kentucky, and I know Doug's going, and he's got some really good horses and should do quite well. But he's also going to have obligations while he's at Kentucky. I know I'm interviewing a couple times for him for Purina. Same with Boyd. And so, there's a lot of Buck and I are doing a course walk for Ride IQ, and these things, they are not the things that necessarily put you in a place to maybe, they're just distractions. Sometimes those little distractions add up. And
Sure.
So I think the Europeans also get that edge. When they come over here, they come over and they're here, they go and they're able to integrate with their team and their friends that are riding, but their owners are there and that sort of thing. But it's a little bit like they're removed and they're at a championship event, and that some riders really benefit from that. Some riders are better with the distraction, but in general, what I think is that just being able to eliminate that extra distraction for 1 week allows you to take your level competitiveness up one notch.
That's a good point. Interesting. All right. So this is sort of, I can't not ask this question. So I'm just curious if you have any thoughts, Kyle. Heading into Kentucky, there have been plenty of American riders who've expressed some concern lately about the lack of leadership in terms of USCF. It's been a little while since we parted ways with Eric Duvander, and there's not really any replacements yet. It feels like a strange time going into the biggest 5-star of the year to not have leadership in place. I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, being a Canadian.
Well, we're the poster children for no leadership. I mean, we now have Canada's been without anybody at the helm for several years now, and I can tell you it is incredibly frustrating and distracting. Maybe not so much for the top riders who have their programs together. Like, it doesn't affect me very much if Canada has no clue what's going on in the leadership roles. And the reason it doesn't affect me much is because I'm going to do, at this point in my life, I'm going to do what I think is best for my horses. And that's the only thing that matters to me. And if it results in some sort of team experience, then that would be super. And I think the Americans at the very top level also are in that situation where they don't need, I don't think Doug is looking for someone to hold his hand to be at Kentucky, other than
but
Jess,
it's the
obviously.
people, the up and coming. It's when I was, 12, not 12, I was 18, and I'm bouncing around with Canada with you, Kyle, and we're like, okay. Yep. We were very fortunate. We looked to you and Mike and people for advice, but there's not really a ton of that, and that's what's so hard in this sport for the U.S., I think.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I think that's the lacking part, certainly the lacking part in Canada. And I say it every time I'm ever in those meetings when they actually, even if they don't want to hear it, it doesn't matter. The biggest failing is not for those top riders already going, but for the riders below them. They need direction. So if you don't have that direction, if you're not telling people this is the pathway to get to that next level, it's a major failing because it affects you in 8 years. It doesn't affect you maybe this year. So with the Americans, I think when I look at what they're lacking that top tier guidance. I think most of the riders are probably okay without it. And I'm not suggesting that this should carry on, but I think most of them are okay and they have their program, they have their understanding of what they need, and everybody understands the success end of it. And if you're a top American rider and you need someone still to hold your hand at that level, then I think you're already a little bit in trouble. However,
when you're probably not the top. You're probably not really the top tier, to be honest.
You're not going to. You're not going to be very. You can have top riders. I mean, we've seen individual medalists come that were totally manufactured and guided for that one performance, and I think that is where America has to always be open for. And I don't think England, Germany, they're not looking for that. They need people that can competently handle themselves, and they need the guidance and that sort of thing. But they don't need direction all the way through, let's say. America, you have to have that top coach in there, because there's going to be someone that isn't good enough without that crutch, and there's nothing wrong with that. They need that little bit more help. But so I don't think going into Kentucky, I think it's frustrating, but at Kentucky, it's on you, and it's not a team situation. So the only thing that's lacking that way for me when I look at the Americans is it's frustrating for all the riders. And then when they're at Kentucky, you're trying to get the verbiage of your coach and the understanding of your coach. So if you're at Kentucky and you have your team coach, like Eric was there last year, he starts to understand how the riders think and work. And now when he goes to a competition, international competition, he's able to help them better. And they understand how he thinks, so they understand the relationships of how they work. And I think that's the biggest value of a good coach, is that they, which riders can handle a little bit more pressure, which riders you can, you need to kind of be gentle around. You start to figure that out. And then and the same end, the riders start to get comfortable being able to speak to that coach and know and have trust. Like when David was our coach, the one thing I'll say is after the first team experience I had with them, we went to the Pan Ams in Rio. When I came home, And he wasn't my coach, but he was, when I came home, I was like, I would go anywhere with him because I understand exactly what he's looking for now.
Yeah.
He was very clear about it with us. But when you go into that competition, you don't necessarily know that, especially if you don't have a lot of history with them. And that's where I think America is not doing a great job, because their younger group is being guided. It does have America has
we have a developmental program and all of that.
Yeah. A good developmental program. But I do think as well, I do think this is a bit of an American issue. Like, I think the Canadian issue is that we need guidance because we are lacking good leadership all the way through the system. Like, there's not enough good coaches developing the people and guiding them as to what they should be doing with their horses, as they come on.
Yeah.
I don't think that's lacking in America, but I think there's too much of the up and coming riders that would, want to go and they'd want to smooth up with Eric, because then they think that's going to make them, a more viable candidate. And they don't understand that the team cares about your performance. They don't if you are not disruptive to the team and you are competitive and you you do what you're supposed to do, they're going to select you. And it's not a popularity contest. And I think that for the up and coming American riders, I think that's something that they do need to kind of look at and go, oh, it's really on me to create something that they want to choose me for. And I do think there's a few riders there that are definitely doing that. I think America's on.
I think it's on track. Mm-hmm. I think it's on track.
I don't agree with how this has been handled at all.
No.
But at the same time, I think there's a lot of them that are better than they know they are, and they might just kind of go, take a breath. I can see clearly what I need to do here, hopefully.
Well, and not necessarily. I think I know a couple of those riders, you're talking about and stuff like that. But just to kind of shift gears about those up and coming riders and stuff like that, I do want to talk about this program, Ride IQ, that you got Doug involved in, and he loves it. And is that I want you to kind of tell the listeners, this app that you've created, and I know you had a huge hand in developing it and helping it, and what made you want to be part of this? What made you kind of feel this was a good app and why this country needed it in particular?
Yeah, well, so Ride IQ is for those out there that don't know what it is. It's a guided riding app, so like Peloton for horses. So what'll happen is there's a lesson you'll punch in, and that lesson is a recording of one of our professionals. We've got Olympic medalists, we've got world championship medalists, pure dressage rider with that's had a medal at the Olympics, and we're constantly adding coaches in there. But I get on, let's say, and I'm doing the recording, and I go from the start to finish in a ride, either a warm up or a skill work, or there's any number of choices of things that I might do. And the whole ride, I record and talk about what I'm doing with my horse, my position cues, just reminders of things that you're going to fall into, bad habits that are going to happen with certain things we're working in, if we're doing shoulder in or suppling work or trying to work on engagement, halt, things like that. And all the coaches contribute. It's not like I cover one thing. Every coach contributes a myriad of different rides. So how it came to us is two former students of ours came to us and said they wanted to start this coaching app, and they wanted to do recorded coaching lessons. So they wanted me to, and my job is to bring in coaches. I'm in charge of faculty. So they wanted me to teach a lesson, and they would record it, no visual. And then they would, that would be what was on the app. And I was like, there's no way this can work. I just couldn't see my head around it because I've done this for a long time, very traditionally. And so we went through this back and forth for a while. And about the third meeting we had, they were like, Kyle, it's audio. Because I kept saying, we'll do videos. And they're like, nope, not doing it. Because their videos are already out there, and they're not wrong in that the videos are really useful, but you're sitting there watching this, but you're not actually involved in it. So
you can't do it play by play. You can't put it in your ears and do it while you're, and that's what, I don't want to watch a Peloton thing and then get on for 30 minutes. I'm going to make it 2 minutes into the Peloton. I'm just going to quit in 2 minutes and go, I don't remember what they said at that point.
Yeah. So what we do is there's a video, there are some of them have video supplementation so you can see what we're talking about, but their whole recording is basically the ride that I'm doing or any of our coaches are doing, and you know at the beginning because it's all written out what we're going to do, so you can know this is appropriate for my horse or not. Or if you make a mistake and you get the wrong recording, it doesn't matter. It's not like you wasted a ride. But what they said is they used to go out and ride, and in a lesson it would all go well, and then they go to ride, and they'd be like, I'd go out there, I'd try to do some marked movements from the dressage test, and it would go terribly, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And so what happened is that we had this conversation, and then I was laying in bed that night because it upset me so much because I was like, I thought it was such a great opportunity. And I was like, but I can't do what they want me to do. And then at like 2 a.m, I woke up and I was like, I think I see it. And I got up and I wrote down a bunch of, I got up and I wrote down
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah. I wrote down all these things that I thought would work, and I went out the next morning and I recorded a ride, and then I sent it to all the people that rode with me, and it was really poor quality, and there was all sorts of things that were wrong with it, but I just wanted to see how it translated.
Could they do it?
And it worked really well, and then we just from there kept refining to where we are now. And so this ride that you're doing, what happens is, and this is the struggle, and I see it all the time, and I'm sure you've seen it. If you guys, anybody out there that watches people ride, you watch them and you're like, what are they doing? They're just like this. I'd watch my advanced level riders ride around and do nothing. And I'd be like, they're just lazy. They don't care. They don't want to do anything. And honestly, now I realize what it is they just actually had no clue what to do.
They just didn't know what to do.
Without
so you
someone
just
telling
don't do
them.
anything. You just sit there and go in a circle.
Exactly. I did 3 circles. I did a half pass. I guess I'm done. And so this gives a complete ride from start to finish. And it is incredible how well it actually works. Like when we first started, I was like, oh, I think it's going to work, but God, I don't know. And then we started doing it. We got it out there, and it's absolutely on fire the way that it actually has helped people with their riding and riding their horses and making them into better horses, making more productive rides. 2 things I think are really important with it. For me, when I ride recording with it or ride with someone's recording, I am way more just in that moment and in that bubble with my horse rather than when I normally ride and I'm riding around and I'm looking and seeing people, not mow where I want them to mow or a fence board that's down and I'm distracted. With this, you are you and your horse, and then someone telling you what to do, but not interfering with what you're doing with your horse. And it makes such a great partnership. It's unbelievable.
It's awesome. It's been a lot of fun.
We've got a patent pending on it, and it's got a bunch of other, it has a bunch of other aspects to it. Like I said, we've got video on it. We do fitness. We've got rider fitness, horse fitness. Rider fitness is coming out, I think, next week.
Oh, that's cool.
We work in so we do open field work. Because that's the other thing is not everybody rides in the same place. So if I go ride with some great dressage rider, I'm in their ring, and then I come home and I've only got an open pasture. How do I change my ride to adjust to that? So we cover that. We cover small arenas, indoor arena, large field. We've got, riders that are riding in the middle of winter in the Midwest and what they do to keep things going and rolling along. We've got jump courses on there. We've got dressage riders. Like I said, we've got hunter jumper riders and event riders. We're adding new coaches all the time. I think there's 20 some coaches at the moment, and there's like 350 lessons up on it.
Honestly, one of my favorite features is the hack chats, Kyle. Like I listened to one from Emma Klugman a couple of weeks ago, just like about her discussing her thoughts on, the benchmarks you need to hit on when to move up. And for me, being an amateur, that was so enlightening, and it was so easy to listen to, at the end of my own ride. It's just so accessible. I really appreciate the variety of content you have on there.
And so I've also, though, before you even go there, because we talk about all the content, and I want you, when you talk about the content, but I also want you to tell our listeners and everybody, you've talked about how it's evolved, but I want to know where more ideas, you slowly started touching on it, but what do you see it continuing to grow? You kind of like these things, or are you just going to, the sky's the limit? What do you kind of have in the works besides the fitness?
All it's going to take, we have so many things in the hopper that we're going to bring in over the next, year. We've got grooming lessons. We've got groundwork lessons. We've got dressage read-throughs where you just hit the button. This is actually the most useful one for me. You hit a button and it tells you, it tells you you're riding your dressage test. And what has happened is we've got someone recording, as though they're reading for someone in the ring. So that way it's in real time. So when you hit the button and you go to ride your test, someone's telling you where to go so you don't get lost while you're practicing. Then we go and do dressage breakdowns with judges like Peter Gray, who's judging at the World Championships, does a bunch of dressage tests for us and tells us what a judge is looking for. We're doing breakdowns from coach's perspective, and we're going to keep adding to those things. And then as we go further, we're adding in more content from like course designers, course builders. We're going to go through the ideas to be able to build up to like helping people understand how to build jumps, how to build their arenas up, how to manage horses. Tonight, actually, there's an office hours because we do that every week, which is open to all our members to actually ask questions of people. So tonight we've got a professional farrier named Beck Right. She does work for me, and I can't even pronounce her last name. And she's answering questions on feed and what she looks for and what she sees as common problems. And then if you have a question, you can actually just dial in and ask that. And then it goes on to be recorded and stored on the file. And so the goal is, and this was the goal right from the start when we talked about it before I even kind of could figure out how we were supposed to do it. I wanted to create a library of information from all sorts of different riding perspectives. Instead of Jimmy Wofford's perspective or Mark Todd's perspective, all the different riders have we all have a similar idea, but we all might come to it differently. And so we're trying to capture the essence of that. One of the cool things that we're doing on there that I think is going to be awesome is we're doing a progressive ride series, and we want to add a bunch of horses to this, but like he's a 4-year-old colt now that I'm doing, and I do a recording and just sort of go through what I'm doing with them. Started, as a 3-year-old, and just talking about the process so that say this horse, who I think is really special, ends up going to, I don't know about the Olympics because by the time that happens, I'll be so old I won't be able to ride him. But if he goes up the levels, you can always.
You know what, Riley? It's fine. Riley can take him to the Olympics.
Yeah, no, none of that.
Riley, for listeners, is Kyle's daughter.
You can go back and see what a 4-year-old did that then is, oh my God, that horse is really special. But wouldn't you like to know what it was like when it was 5? Or, he went through a bad stage last year. He's really well behaved, but he went through a bit of a naughty stage. And, I'm having to work through it on the mic, and he's behaving like a jackhammer. So the process is really interesting when you look at it that way. And I think as trainers, and you've got it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this, but you ride a horse at the advanced level and you think, oh my God, it's so well, and you feel these feelings, but you forget what it was like when it was going training. And it was like, wouldn't respond to the left leg or whatever. And so this way people can kind of identify and see that we're all working through the same problems. But one of the cool things is all the people that listen to it and are involved, and they start to understand that all the professionals we're all dealing with the same things that the amateurs are dealing with, that the young riders are dealing with. We're all dealing with the same, sometimes these things are good, sometimes they're bad. And we all kind of have to work through it because horses don't just come out of the box perfect. So it really, I think, helps people get comfortable with riding and owning their ride, as opposed to I can't ride and do anything unless my coach is telling me. And so it makes the coach's job easier. It makes the horse's job much easier. And we're just trying to make a better process for everybody.
I think that's exactly it. And I think the arsenal is so vast at this point, and you can learn so much. But what I have to know, what is the most downloaded or like most popular lesson that Ride IQ has put out so far?
Okay, so I had to ask that because when it comes to any tech stuff, I'm a complete idiot. And that's the other nice thing with this is you can download the ride at home, go and ride anywhere. You don't need Wi-Fi or service or anything like that. So our most downloaded lesson was Young Horse Full Ride with John Halling. That one I know people keep kind of, putting back, in our Facebook group amongst our members, we get these, people like, oh my God, I just rode with whoever they rode with that day. It's so awesome because it's like they're, riding with, Leslie, and they really feel that connection. So John's got a young horse one that people really respond to. And then I've got one with transitions that has also been very popular, and then rider position with Holly Happ. And I've done a rider position one as well. Lauren Spicer's done one. We've got a bunch of people that kind of do replication ones, but certain of them really connect with people. And I know the one with Holly was really big. Doug did one for us on halts, and I actually did it too because I rode his ride because people were like, "Oh my God, it's so great! I got a 10 on my halt last weekend after doing what Doug was telling me to do." I'm not even kidding. And I was like,
"You're like, I got to try this out. I got to get the 10 now."
That's what I went and I was like, I'm downloading that one and wrote it a bunch because I was like, I just want to know, what is someone else doing, instead of me just being out there going, I need a better halt, So
like, maybe they're asking better than me. I got to try their way.
Yeah, exactly. If you'd listen to your husband, you'd know this. But here's the other part.
I listen to everybody else's, not his. Don't tell him that.
Yes, I'm sure. But when you're riding, and your coach says something, you're just like, I don't want, that's just, and then it's not that they're wrong. It's that it's coming directly and it seems like a criticism where this is a little bit more removed. So it's not like, oh my God, you suck, you need a better halt. It's, here's what you do to make this better. And so it starts to just simplify the process.
Yeah.
I just have to tell you before we go any further that the reason I knew it was going to work, okay, because I was really, I was excited about it, but I was really nervous. But when I thought the process was going to work and I wasn't certain, I'd sent it out to a bunch of riders, this first recording that I did. And I had a really good ride on the horse when I did it. I finished the ride and I was like, this is the best she'd ever gone. It was amazing. But I sent it out to 3 or 4 of my riders, and they all said, oh my God, it was great. It was like, it just took me into the moment, and that was it. And I was excited about that. But, your students will lie to you, because they think you want that.
Well, they're kind of scared of you, so they have to.
Yeah, hopefully that part's true. So I gave it to Jen. I wanted her to listen to it. I was so excited about it. And Jen was, she wanted to do something, and it wasn't and I was like, no, I need you to do this. And we started to argue, and we got we don't fight very much. We got in this big argument because I wanted to see it one way, and she was wanted to do something else. And I'm like, I need you to record. I need you to listen to this. And she was like, well, I'm doing this. And we got in this huge argument. And then she took it and she went to play. And I'm like, no, I said, forget it. Don't even do it. There was a lot more swearing involved. I was like, don't even do it. You got to do it the way I want you to do it. Don't do it at all. And she went off course. Now she's stubborn because I told her not to do it. So she's going to do it.
She's going to go do it for sure.
And she is pissed. And she gets on and she goes to ride, and she was on Parker. And Parker does not respond well to emotional distress. And she went off and she rode. And 45 minutes later, I was watching a little bit, and I went and I was riding out in the field, and I watched the ring a little bit, and I was pissed off. And she comes out a little bit later, and she's like, after about 5 minutes, I stopped being pissed off. All of a sudden, I was just doing the horse, and she was like, it took me completely out of that anger and just put me in
an emotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what more? I was like, there could not be a better endorsement than that.
Exactly. Parker and Jen sold. It's going to work.
Exactly. And not just that, but her pissed off at me. That she wants it not to work so she can tell me that I'm an idiot,
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kyle, So we're really excited to announce here at the end of this interview that Heels Down is doing a really fun collaboration with Ride IQ. So keep an eye out in the Spark beginning April 18th. If you're not a subscriber yet, you should. This is a perfect reason to subscribe. And we'll get you all the details very soon. I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be a really fun week of Ride IQ and the Spark coming together. And again, you'll need to subscribe. And if you subscribe and sign up for Ride IQ by then, there's going to be a really great giveaway. And we'll wait a little while to announce those details from the Ride IQ side of things. But thanks to Kyle and the whole team at Ride IQ, they are giving Heels Down listeners a wonderful promo. So if you haven't signed up for Ride IQ, this is a great time. You can use the promo code Heels Down, all as one word, for a 1-month free trial or $29.99 off a Ride IQ subscription. The offer is valid through the end of April. And with that promo, you'll be able to get a total of 6 weeks for free, including the free trial. So this is a great time to try it. If you haven't yet, you can go to ride-iq.com to redeem the promo code and start your free trial.
Yeah, we're really excited to do that as well. And then, like you said, everybody should kind of tune in because I'm not allowed to announce one of the giveaways we're doing, but we're doing it right after Kentucky. The week of Kentucky, we are going to have a booth there. And every day I think we're doing a giveaway. But at the end of that week, there is a huge one that one of our members has donated because she has been so excited about this. And she was like, I just want to help you guys make this, as great as possible. And it is, I cannot believe that someone donated. It's going to be awesome, but they said I couldn't announce it right now. So I'm not going to. And
okay.
That's the other thing is, Jess, you said that about how did I know that it was going to work in this country? And one of the things we were trying to do is also bring education to areas that are lacking in some of that education. Because I grew up in a dearth of eventing. And so this would have been really helpful for me to understand how to condition a horse before, I was conditioning them poorly, which I did, just trying to make it up as I went along. And so, but it is a worldwide app. We're right now in 23 countries, I believe. And that's our goal, is to try to make it worldwide. We're working on, once we get to a certain point, we're going to try to start a Spanish version of it and try to, kind of help with I've done a lot of coaching in South America, and I want to bring more education and knowledge down to them. And that's really what this is about. It's not to be a threat to anybody. It's to try to help people get that knowledge. Because one thing, people used to read books and nobody reads anymore. They listen to podcasts and they want to hear it in audio and they want the information immediate and accessible. And this sort of really provides that.
For sure. No, it's a pretty amazing thing that if you guys as listeners have not checked out Ride IQ, go check it out. It's amazing. There's some incredible instructors in there and, people that I wanted to ride with and stuff like that. I've really had fun kind of playing along and riding and doing some of the young horses or playing on some of Doug's bigger horses. It's been a lot of fun.
We have there was an advanced rider that contacted us and you don't think they're going to come on board. And they were like, oh, it's great because I get to plan my ride lesson, my jump lesson at the beginning of the week for my horse. And then she's like, and then I get to use it all week. So I don't have to think about it. I can just teach them the application of what we're looking for in an exercise. And so it just kind of takes some of the pressure off trying to be creative as well.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, it's been such a treat to chat with you on a variety of things. And we're really excited to see you at Kentucky, but also continue to do all of this great work with Ride IQ. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. You guys are doing a great job, and I'm excited to see you all at Kentucky, and hopefully you'll see me blazing around doing the right things.
Absolutely. We'll be cheering for you.
Buy a Horse Book Day is Tuesday, May 10th, and we hope that you will celebrate with us. Heels Down and Trafalgar Square Books are teaming up to celebrate equestrian authors and horse books everywhere, and we need your help. So please share the hashtag Buy a Horse Book Day leading up to May 10th and share your favorite horse books that you've read. They could be memoirs. They could be coaching books like Doug's wonderful manual. There could be any horse book that's touched you in some way, even Black Beauty or a wonderful novel. We want to celebrate authors because they help take us to a different place when we're lost in their book, and they help teach us new things. And we think that's worth celebrating. And if you are a subscriber to the Heels Down Spark, you'll get to read some of our favorite reviews of our favorite books that week and get the first news of giveaways and discounts we're going to be offering from equestrian authors on books from all over. So subscribe to the Heels Down Spark. And for more information about Buy a Horse Book Day, you can check it out at heelsdownmag.com.
So today we have a very important guest, one of my really good friends, Will Coleman. He's a 5-star event rider who rides in the Grand Prix for show jumping, as well as he has dabbled a little bit in the Hunter Derbies. Will has represented the U.S. event team at the London Olympics, as well as the World Equestrian Games at Tryon. Last year, Will became one of the first and only Americans to win the CHIO Aachen for eventing with the horse Off the Record. Welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So I want to get right into It was pretty amazing to watch. I obviously wasn't there at Aachen, but for you to go on and the off the record horse that you've had for forever, go and win Aachen is an amazing thing to put your name up on that wall. What was it like to actually win it?
Well, it was amazing. That's probably the best word I can think of to describe it. Aachen's been sort of just a really cherished horse event for me for a long time. I think it's just the pinnacle of kind of all the major disciplines, and the people who have kind of won Aachen and dressage and jumping and eventing, they're sort of some of the great sportsmen in their respective disciplines. And, I said it at the time, but I don't know if I really deserved to be on that wall with them, but I felt very, very honored and humbled to be there. And my horse and my team and everybody that was there all put forth an incredible effort. And it was just a really awesome experience from start to finish. So it's a really fond memory. And, we're just trying to, without forgetting about it, we're sort of looking ahead and trying to figure out how we could try to do something like that again.
Very cool. Well, looking forward, we're just a few weeks out until Kentucky, and I see, Will, that you have horses entered in both the 5-star long and the 4-star short. Can you tell us more about the horses you're going to be riding out there in Kentucky?
Well, I've got 3 in the 5-star, and they're familiar horses that I've had for a long time. Tight Lines, who's kind of probably my most experienced horse, and I've had him forever, and he's done a bunch of 5-stars. And Don Dante, who's a relative newcomer to the 5-star level. He did Maryland last fall, but this will be his 3rd attempt at 5-star. He had a kind of an unfortunate fall at Kentucky last year, hung a leg into the water, but jumped around Maryland. So this will be, hopefully I can improve on those 2 performances a little bit if possible. And then Off the Record, who's the horse that I took to Aachen, and this will be his 2nd 5-star. He did Kentucky last year, and I can't remember where he finished, but he jumped around and was quite good, but, hoping to improve a little bit on his performance there as well. So got those 3 in the 5-star, and Chin Tonic, who's sort of a nice younger horse of mine that is going to do the 4 short.
So tell us about your previous Kentucky experiences. What are you looking forward to most this year?
Well, I've had a lot of great events at Kentucky over the years. I don't know if I'm looking forward to anything more than I do normally this year. I mean, I'm a little bit dreading having so many horses in it. I've had 3 in the 5-star last year, and I just remember finishing and saying, thank God I don't have a 4-star horse. And now this year I'm going to have a 4-star horse. So it'll be a really busy weekend, but I just enjoy the challenge of 5-star eventing, and I really respect how difficult it is, and how each horse has maybe their own individual challenges related to that level of our sport, and trying to figure out how to help them cope with those challenges is sort of the fun part of it for me. And I love Kentucky. It's just, I think, such an amazing event, the facilities and, the cross country course. I think it's as good as any event in the world, if not the best. So it's our home, well, I guess we have 2 5-stars now, but Kentucky's still sort of the flag bearer for that level of competition in our country. And, the thought of going there is just always kind of, I guess if you were a golfer, it'd be the same as going to the Masters or something.
Kentucky's pretty awesome for everybody in this country. And so it's pretty special place and brings a lot of good memories to most people. So we'll be definitely cheering you on there. But I also want to talk I don't know if the listeners really know, you have quite a really good string of young horses right now. And I want you to tell them a little bit about it, but tell me some of your favorites. Like, what are you really looking forward to in that next string? Because there are there's a lot of people that have some young horses and stuff like that, but you're really creating that depth within the program that they're anything from babies all the way up to the 5-star, as well as the show jumpers you have. So tell us a little bit about some of your favorite horses.
Well, actually, I don't have a ton of horses right now, event horses. I mean, I've got the 3 that are going to the 5-star, and then I've got Chin Tonic, and I've got a really nice kind of relatively new horse. I got him last summer, Cold Red Rum. He's a young horse, but he's not that young. I think he's 8, but sort of a little bit behind.
But he's that pipeline behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. But so he's 8, but if I told you he was 6, you'd probably believe me. But I think he's really quality. He's got a lot of presence in the dressage, and I just really like his instincts in all three phases, honestly. And he's got a great brain, plenty of flash, and plenty of blood there, I think, too. He'd be kind of my nicest, youngest horse. I'm light on young horses at the moment. I mean, we've been looking for horses for the last 18 months, and I've had a lot that, haven't passed the vet, or, just maybe weren't quite what we were looking for. And we're still kind of looking. So I've got sort of a little bit of a hole in the string at that level, kind of at that nice 5-6 year old coming along that just really isn't there at the moment. But that's sort of something we want to rectify this year. And like I said, we've been looking, but we just haven't found them. I do a bit of, Vicky Castergren, who owns Chin Tonic for me, we do some young horse stuff, and she's got a massive breeding operation in Europe. And we own a mare together that I have 2 foals now on the ground. I've got a young colt by Imatep, who's Vicky's stallion, jumped at the World Games in Normandy. And then we have a full sister to that colt, also by Imatep, who's a filly, that they both look stunning, like really, really stunning. Like I'm hoping they could be a follow-up to a Chin Tonic. And then I have another couple of sort of 3 and 4 year olds over there, but they're extremely raw, and I'm still trying to kind of figure out what I think they could be. But finding horses now is a big part of our game, and I would say we've gotten a little bit more selective in the last few years, which is maybe why we have fewer in the barn. But I think we're still sort of waiting and looking and ready to strike when we see one. But
but that might be okay to be a little selective, wanting the best of the best and wanting to go forward with that.
You want something that can win, and so that's a rare horse, really. But I think we have a lot of pride in our program, and hopefully we feel like we can produce them, and we just want to try to start with horses that have a high ceiling.
And how do you balance horses with jumpers and eventing as well as family life? I feel like our listeners always want to know how these tops in the industry really managed their whole lives.
Yeah, it's tough. My jumper string is also, it's not enormous, like 3 or 4 jumpers. We've sold a couple, so I would like to kind of keep 3 or 4 jumpers in the barn. I just think it's good for me, and I enjoy the sport, and I really enjoy it and love jumping. But it's tough. The weekends we're not eventing now. A lot of times we're going to a jump show, and really the most difficult part about it is just finding enough knowledgeable and good staff. That I think is like a industry-wide epidemic at the moment, is staffing your barn. And when you have good staff, it's amazing. And we have a really, really incredible core group here, but it's hard to keep your barn properly staffed, like in terms of numbers, consistently. That's a challenge, I think, for everybody. And especially when we've got kind of 2 teams on the road basically all the time. But, Katie and I are, Katie's obviously a huge part of our business and big part of kind of my team, and she's sort of the backbone of our whole operation. And we struggle, honestly, with trying to make time for all of it. It's a definite balancing act. We're lucky that we live at the farm. We live close to the horses, and our kids are here all the time. So we always feel like we're at least around our family. And I think we compete really hard for certain parts of the year, and then we try to take parts of the year where we consciously try not to go on the road too much and just stay home. And you're still working horses and doing barn stuff, but at least you're at home and you're just around your kids and hanging out, really. We're lucky we live on beautiful farms. That's a blessing for most kids to be able to grow up in this kind of environment. So we don't look at it as a negative. It is a challenge trying to figure out how to make time and just make sure that you're running your business and doing all that, but that you also are not totally, we're not that important what we do. We're lucky we get to do it. And, I think we have to just every now and then just remind ourselves that there's other things in life that are just as important or more so.
No, it's always a challenge for everybody and everything else, but we can't thank you for coming on and telling us a little bit about like the backside of Will and everything else.
Hey, my pleasure, Jess. Good luck to everyone. I know you guys have a busy season coming up too, and I'm really excited to see Doug at Kentucky and the eventing and the jumping. And I'm very jealous of that, but I'm excited for him. And I know that.
Hey,
he's
we'll
really
get you there
pumped about
too. We'll both have you guys there that you can be in the night class as well. Then you'll
Well, I
be
would love
super
that.
nervous on how you don't know how to do it all. Then you'll be like, I'm not sure I can bring them all. You're going to have to give Doug
Well,
a pep talk about
that'd
all
be-
the horses.
Oh, he's going to be fine. Doug's not. I'm not worried about Doug.
You can give him a bourbon and he'll be fine.
That's right. He's in a good place for that.
So exactly.
There'll be no
So
shortage of bourbon there in Lexington.
exactly. So we'll be cheering you on, and thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, guys. We'll see you guys soon.
All right, guys, it's time for Rose and Thorn. Who wants to go first?
I can go.
All right, let's hear it.
So I guess my rose would be that Batman got his second round of his stem cells this week. So, and the vets are happy with him up at Cornell, and they're thinking he looks really good. It's too soon to tell whether or not his prognosis has changed, like if for some reason he will be rideable. But I mean, I'm just happy that he's looking good, and hopefully we can get him out of his stall sometime soon because he's angry. Rightfully so. But my thorn would be that since he's inside, I always have to have someone inside with him, which it's not a bad thing for, especially my younger horse to learn to have to be inside sometimes, especially now that we're going to go to hopefully some away shows this summer where he'll have to be stalled. But I was planning on taking both Berkeley and Q to a horse show at where I went to undergrad. They have just like an open show, and I was going to make my mom show Berkeley in all of the English stuff and in the Western stuff.
Aw.
That would have been so good.
I know.
But I don't know who I can leave inside because Batman only really likes them. So I'm trying to figure out who I can kind of get him to like a little bit so that I can possibly still take both of those horses off property at the same time. So hopefully it works out. If not, that's okay. Berkeley will get to stay home, and Mama Waz will have to find a different day for pony showing with Berkeley. But
Oh,
how about you?
Jess, you want to go or you want me to go?
I can go.
Okay.
So my thorn would probably have to be, I guess the biggest thing right now is, and it's not terrible, but I don't love change. You know me? Like I like programs and stuff like that. And our nanny that's been with us for 2 years, goes everywhere with us. She has decided a couple weeks ago that wants to go back home, and like she's a bit homesick and misses her friends and everything. And so totally understandable, but we are now getting a new one, and I found one. I think she'll be great, but I'm nervous about the change. And so change is always a hard thing for us. Or me in particular. So I guess that would be my thorn, is that I'm looking forward to it and I'm really excited about this new one. She starts in a couple weeks, but sad that my old one is going home. So that's like my biggest thing. And then my rose would be that with this whole group of new horses and like good horses, all the ones coming up, is that I'm really excited for Kentucky, and I'm excited that the Invitational is coming back. I talked to you guys at the beginning of the episode about the horses we're going, and I'm just really excited that it's Kentucky again, and that we get spectators and people are going to be there, and the Invitational's back and the trade fair's back. And so I guess that's like my rose, is that things are slowly getting back to normal, and I'm really excited about old Kentucky being back, basically.
Yeah. And don't worry, change is good sometimes. This could be a good move for you,
I think so, but I'm still sad.
Yeah.
So you get comfortable, and she's been great. My kids, we haven't really told them because she's still with us for another week or two. So we haven't really told the kids. We've kind of mentioned it, and the new one's been coming off and on for a couple days, and they love her, but I think for my kids, they're going to be sad. They do love their Lauren. So change will be good, but I'm still sad. So Justine, what do you have?
So actually, I have some change too. I'll start with my thorn. I am moving Mikey to a new boarding barn.
I'm
yeah.
excited for you, though.
Yeah, it's like a bittersweet thorn in that we've had a good run at the place we've been at. And with the trainer I've been at, she's really, helped me narrow in on some goals, and I felt like we've had some really great success over the last couple of years. But I'm looking forward to this new chapter. I'm actually moving to a dressage barn. Ooh, I never thought in my lifetime that would happen, but I am in love with this trainer. Like, I want to be her when I grow up, and she's made some very important changes in me and my horse in a very short time over the last few months. And she just has the, no offense, dressage ladies, I love y'all, but she's the opposite of a dressage diva. Like, she just has this like wonderful hippie energy, and there's just nothing about her barn that is chaotic, or you know what I mean, or stressful.
That's
like
good.
the horses are very happy there. The people she keeps in her farm are just like wonderful, calm, inviting, nice women, and I'm just really excited to be part of that family. So I'm really looking forward to this. And luckily, she's going to let me set up jumps in the back field, and there's a show jump trainer around the corner. Like, I can literally hack down the hack trails to, for lessons to him. And I've taken a couple lessons from him already, and he's already making important changes in me too. So it just feels like the right next move for both, Michael and I. So, but it is bittersweet. So that leads me to my Rose, which I did one last horse show with my current crew, with my trainer in the barn family I'm with now. It was just the local hunter jumper schooling show that we always go to around here in Tampa. And I'm trying to log more miles at the 3-3 and the jumper ring, and trying to get Mikey to be a little bit sharper at that height. And we're making progress. It's definitely still a work in progress. But the highlight of that horse show for sure was every spring, this circuit does a champagne derby. And it's basically you ride a derby course, but holding a flute of champagne in one hand. And the entry fee goes to supporting their rider incentive fund, which is like a young rider scholarship program. So it's super fun. And like the winner, you win like a very fancy bottle of champagne, like a really nice bottle of champagne. So I came all out. I wore the shad. I was like, I'm going to do this for real if we're going to do this. So we looked very fancy. If nothing else, I was 100% the best dressed. Sorry, I just have to say. But a girlfriend of mine from our barn did it with me, and she won. And she was like amazing. Like, she just had this foot perfect derby course where like it had rollback turns, it had a trot fence, it had a halt, and you had to sit trot out of the arena. Like, it was not easy to hold a champagne flute and do that. And it was judged based on like who had the most champagne still in their glass at the end. And so Mikey and I got third, a very respectable third place finish, but it was a lot of fun. And it was super fun to have our barn win the class,
That's pretty awesome. That is awesome.
It was a lovely last outing with a group of, ladies I really love. And, I forged very important friendships at this barn. So it's nice to end on a good note. Yeah.
I did one of those with Berkeley one time, but it was a Bloody Mary class. And I'm really grateful we used water, because I was so afraid that they were going to give us Bloody Marys and I was going to spill it on my
oh my gosh,
pad.
Right? And
I was like, no.
That would have made a huge mess.
I should have practiced, because Michael's, he doesn't neck rein, you know what I mean? He was like, what are you doing up there? But it was a lot of fun. It was super fun.
That's awesome.
All right. So we got a mailbag for you guys. I want to know, what horse products have you used on yourself? No wrong answers, but also don't lie. So who wants to go first?
Ellie, you want to go first?
There's a lot that I've used.
I've got to think. So I'm thinking maybe you'll give me ideas of what I'm sure I've used more than what I can think of. But Courtney and I were just having this conversation today, which is what's very strange.
That's funny.
We just got in new Cowboy Magic, and she like ran to the shipment and was like, I need the leave-in conditioner and detangler. It's amazing. And I was like, I'm not going to lie, I've used that on my own hair. And KR was like, that actually might be where I'm at in my life right now. I need to start adding it. And I'm like, as kids, my mom, like, we'd be late to go to dinner or somewhere, and I'd be like, I haven't showered, and I'd be like 10 years old, right? She's like, just wash your hair in the hose and take some horse shampoo. So we use like, whatever horse shampoo was there, wash our hair, and then, but the conditioner was like super gross for my hair because I have very fine, like greasy hair. But if you did the shampoo and then the Cowboy Magic leave-in conditioner with a tiny, tiny amount, you could brush your hair no problem, because then I had to find like a really clean-ish brush. That was the harder part. That was probably the grossest part, was trying to find a great clean brush and pray there was one in the car.
All right. What about you, Ellie?
Yeah, Ellie, what have you done? And maybe I'll know some more.
So I've definitely done the Cowboy Magic.
It's good.
And, it looks so shiny. But I've definitely also done that with a dirty brush. And, like, my mother's had to tell me, like, there is a piece in your hair. I'm like, oh, whoops. I was like, good thing this restaurant isn't that fancy. The other thing is I used to actually use Mane and Tail, like the brand, like shampoo and conditioner all the time. I don't really remember how that started, but like I used to use it on my hair all the time before I started dyeing it, and it works real well. The other thing is that like that TRICARE stuff, like just that wound stuff, it's not antibiotic, or it's got some.
I use that for like
antiseptic.
cuts?
Yeah. I've
On
used
yourself?
that. Oh,
I've
yeah.
done that on cuts for myself. Like,
Yeah,
for sure.
chapstick, lotion.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Not chapstick and lotion. Never thought about it for that.
Yeah, don't
But,
use
like-
it as chapstick. It burns a little bit.
Yeah, but if I like
But
got a
in a
cut or
pinch.
whatever, I've done that.
Yeah, in a
And the
pinch, it works.
SSD in a pinch is good for lotion if your hands are really dry and you're like really tired. That's okay, because that's like a wound care anyways.
Yeah.
But I think the
Yeah.
weirdest one I've ever done,
That's scary.
and my sister and I have both done this, and it actually works real well, so hear me out. But we've actually used poultice as a face mask.
My face would have fallen off.
I know. I was
It's so
going to say.
sensitive.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have lived through that day.
So I think it started as a joke that my sister and I did when like we were kids, when we were like learning how to poultice. So my sister was probably like 6 and I was 4 years
It
older
definitely
than her.
doesn't feel good when I rinse it off my hands after
No.
applying it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it feels
so-
real good on your face. Like I'm talking about like
That's no way.
the purple tin brand, like the purple jar brand.
Exfoliating, huh? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, it makes your skin so soft. I mean, I wouldn't leave it on forever, but like a lot of the times Lauren and I would, poultice a horse, throw some on our face and then wash it off in the barn sink. And I remember the barn owner walked by one time and she was like, what is going on here? I was like, this works real well. And if you haven't tried it, you're missing out. So fun fact, do that at horse shows because then your skin is so soft.
I don't know if I could do that.
So Jess, I feel like we've had this conversation before because I remember I have a vague memory of Sally saying she took a liniment bath one time and that was a bad idea. Like she put it in a bathtub thinking it would be helpful, but you forget that it goes in other places.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. And then I
Yeah, we
remember
have had that.
Caroline talking about when we reviewed the Revitavet red light therapy that she used it on her body before.
I mean, I've done the laser on my back for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Like all the time. Like I actually didn't believe the laser. This might be not really appropriate, but I was like, that doesn't really work. And so I've always had a bad back. So I did Doug have me, I'd lay on my back on the floor and where I couldn't see anything. And he would laser one side of my back only for a week. Like every other day, laser my back, one side. And I've had a terrible back. And then I could tell what side was better. And
you
I was like,
could.
I could. And so I did do the laser and that changed my outlook on it big time.
Okay.
But like ointments and stuff, I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to think too. So like I've definitely done liniment on like a sore shoulder at a horse show,
Surpass is good.
Oh, interesting.
Surpass is like actually when I, cut my finger off and all that, and it had like some arthritis and stuff. They told me to put Surpass like on the joint at the knuckle so that it didn't get like stiff and everything. And they told me to use the Surpass.
Interesting. Okay.
So Surpass is good.
What else have I used?
I mean, I've like makeshift like a Band-Aid with vet wrap, but I don't feel like that's really-
sure. Yeah. And I've fixed like
always,
broken boots with vet wrap. Yeah. All kinds of
or
vet wrap.
I mean, everything, duct tape fixes everything. So
I will tell you, I was in a pinch living in the barn and like in an emergency situation had to go to like a work thing and going like, I don't have time to go home to shower. Right. And I've used my Sterling Essentials lavender saddle conditioner and like just dabbed it on my wrists and like under my neck because it smells so good.
stop it.
So, and I was like,
Stop
at least
it.
they'll like, maybe that'll take the sweat, the sweat barn smell away. But I have done that. And
No, I doubt it does.
it's like, if you rub it in, quickly enough, it's almost
Do you
like.
not just keep a deodorant in your car?
it was like one of those days where I just didn't have anything and I was in a bind. Like, what do I do? You know? And I was like, this stuff smells pretty good. I'll try. So,
I mean, only other thing I know about, which I mean, definitely do not recommend, my Western coach in college, who, gosh, is like 83 now, when he dislocated his shoulder, he took a couple tabs of Butte.
Oh, wow.
Ew.
Don't do that. That's
Don't
bad.
do that. That would not be good.
Yeah.
Somehow he's still kicking, though. He still
No.
rides at 83.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that's about it. Like I bought Draper and Back on Track products, you know, because I see that it works on my horse, but I've bought the human
Bought them for myself. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I've done that.
So, yeah. All right. Well, but if we want to hear from you guys, if you've used an interesting horse product on yourself, again, there are no wrong answers here. So, and no shame. Feel free to share that with us in our Facebook group, which is the Heels Down Happy Hour Facebook Lounge. And if you have a question for us, you want us to answer on the air, you can always send us an email. If you don't feel like you want to post it in the Facebook group, the email is hello@heelsdownmedia.com. And if you want to hear more from us, you should subscribe to the Heels Down Spark. Do it now before our Ride IQ campaign begins April 18th. And so you'll be in the know for that big giveaway that Kyle hinted at. You can sign up if you're not already a subscriber by going to bit.ly/SparkByHD. And we want to say thanks to our partners this week, EcoGold and Purina. All right, guys, I guess we won't talk until Kentucky,
I know. It'll be a couple weeks, but we'll talk. So,
But cheers to Kentucky.
anyways.